I'm not telling anybody to just go quit your 9 to 5 or anything like that. I'm just saying that depending on the kind of 9 to 5 job that it is, you don't want to put in your 2 weeks notice or even a 6 week notice or anything like that. You want to be able to just call it deuces and get the crap out, because these companies don't care about you the way that, it's funny because they say in the professional world, in the corporate world, that putting in a 2 weeks notice is a professional courtesy. And yet everybody that I know that has fired somebody or let somebody go, they've all done it on a moment's notice. And in the last year, I saw over half a dozen to a dozen people get let go, specifically because of artificial intelligence and the kinds of progress that AI has done for the digital marketing industry. But overall, these people were not given any kind of notice. They were forced to resign or just quit on the spot. Well, they were technically fired. But then you have these other possibilities where it kind of depends on why you put in a 2 weeks. Like, I've seen people that put in 2 weeks and they've been a great asset to the company, and the company treats them fine and they go out fine. But it's still like there's something off about those last few days that they're in the office. They're just not really there and all of that. And I've seen other people where they put in 2 weeks and the company tells them, no, just go, you're done. They snap at them like, no, you're done, just get out of here. So they're putting in like a minute notice for the employee as the employer. So I've seen a lot of different things that have happened in the corporate world. And, these companies most of the time don't care. And unless it's like a smaller company that's been treating you well, I would say you don't need to put in your 2 weeks. And the 9 to 5 job, there's nothing wrong with a 9 to 5 job. Okay. Again, I'm not going to be advocating for people to go just get rid of their jobs and stop their jobs and anything like that. But if you're somebody that is innovative, if you're somebody that is inspired to make something more, like to be creative, because not 9 to 5s are not for everybody, and entrepreneurship is not for everybody. But if you're wanting to get more of an entrepreneur like position in your life, you've got to go all in. You really do. And that's something I wish I learned earlier in my life. When I was 24, maybe 23, I started my first business. And then by the time I was 24, it failed. I started another business, couldn't even get it off the ground. The Regal Change brand and the Regal Change as a whole is the only company that I've been able to have that has been any kind of prosperous. And the biggest reason for this is social media. Social media is no longer something that companies, specifically small companies, can just like treat as an option anymore. Social media is not an option if you are an entrepreneur. Social media is absolutely an asset to you. And I wish also, even when I started YouTube just over 2 years ago, I wish that I understood just how impactful the social media marketplace could be. And even in this year, it wasn't until July when I began to realize, oh, snap, like I need to be putting my eggs in different baskets. I need to really make sure that I'm capitalizing on certain other social media. So I started with Instagram, and I started doing a little bit more posts on Instagram and such. And then I moved from YouTube over to X and Rumble over the past couple months, and that's been better. And that's been a lot better for me as an entrepreneur and just for my brand and business. But it's still, you still have to do everything else on your own. Like, you have to wear several different hats. People that aren't entrepreneurs, that don't appreciate it, because I can appreciate people that do the 9 to 5 and Like they know that this is a job, this is where I go, and I got to do what I want to do on my own time. This is just what I do to make a living. And they understand it and they respect themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then you have people that do the 9 to 5 and whatever, and they like criticize these entrepreneurs that are wearing all these hats all the time, and they will never understand what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Like, yes, you do have to wear all these different hats. You know, you got to be a graphic designer, a video editor, a content creator. You got to be a photographer. You've got to be knowing how to market your stuff, because you could have the best product, but if nobody really has an awareness about it, it's going to be a failed product. Like, imagine if Nike, for example, or Amazon, nobody knew about these opportunities for these businesses. They wouldn't be as big as they are today. But one of the biggest things about these bigger companies and these corporate jobs is they have a big marketing budget. And marketing is really important for a lot of different things. And I'm trying to be my aim is to be a PR genius when it comes to anything nowadays, because if you know how to market something, you can get pretty far. You can get pretty far. But I also want to be speaking the truth in doing so. And one of the things that I've noticed is that you've got to, even in the 9 to 5, you have to market yourself a certain way. And I'm not saying that you guys should just like, if you're going to quit your 9 to 5, let's say, if you do quit your 9 to 5, you put in your 2 weeks notice, or you just quit on the spot, at least go out decently, go out professionally. Yes, it's a professional courtesy to give your 2 weeks, but these people don't care about you. They don't care most of the time. Most of the time, you are a cog in the machine, and that's just a fact. And a lot of people that are in the 9 to 5 have accepted that, and they know that this is just my job, and that's okay. Like, I'm doing what I need to do to provide for my family, and whatever it is, and whoever it is, they're doing what they need to do, and I respect that. But I see a lot of people that are letting their souls be sucked away from the 9 to 5, and they don't want to do entrepreneurship, and that's fine. But if your soul is being sucked away from this job, and you're living paycheck to paycheck or something like that, you're going to be put in a tough position, but you've got to make the sacrifices. You've got to make sure that you've got an emergency savings, and you've got to make sure that you have the discipline to do so, and you're not spending money needlessly. I cannot tell you how many times and how many things that I've seen where situations, that is, how many people and how many situations I've seen where if they just didn't go out to eat as much as they did, they would be fine. But these people are going out to eat so much. They're spending so much money on their cars and their health insurance and their car insurance and all that, where they could be getting better deals and such anyway. But I don't even have health insurance at this time. I can't afford it. At least that's what I say. I just say, yep, nope, can't afford it. Because it's just, even if you do, and I've talked about this in my other videos on a similar topic, months and months ago, but in health insurance, for example, even if you're paying let's say $200 a month, reasonably and conservatively, $200 a month for health insurance, and that's what, $2,400 a year, so that's $2,500 roughly for insurance. Now let's say you do get into some kind of health thing, or you have to go to the doctor. Well, if you've got a $500 to $1,000 deductible, well, not only are you paying the $2,400, now you're paying the deductible as well. And then, even then, if things happen where you need to go even further with this health situation, you have to pay a percentage of whatever it is that is going beyond the deductible. So it's like, how in the long run, if you're a reasonably healthy person, it doesn't really make sense. Like me, I'm a reasonably healthy guy. I make sure that I'm eating well. I make sure that I'm exercising well. I'm flexible. I got my joints good. I'm doing everything I can to minimize injury and maximize positive results. I don't need to be going through health insurance and such. I just don't need it. And if something did happen, it would be better for me to just pay for it off the bat. And so there's little things like that that people think about in the 9 to 5. Well, if I just start my own business, I'm not going to be able to get health insurance or whatever at a certain price. It's like, yeah, but you're going to be sovereign, man. Because I see, I'm speaking to the people that want to be entrepreneurs but don't know if they have the means. You have to go all in. And I can't overemphasize that enough. You have to go all in. You have to believe in yourself. You have to have faith that whatever it is that you're doing, God is putting you to do this for a purpose, and he's making you into the man or woman that you need to be so that you can do what you must for his will. And having that trust that you are just being a part of God's creation, because you have to acknowledge that you might fail. You might fail, and that's okay. But because I definitely failed. The first 2 businesses, like I said, I failed. And it was because I didn't know how to market, and I didn't know how to actually talk to people about the stuff. Like I always thought that trying to sell something was like evil. And I realize in retrospect that that's like a broke mindset, because everybody's trying to sell something in this world. Everybody's trying to sell something, and if you aren't trying to sell something, then you don't have anything to offer. That's really the reality of the situation. And so these jobs where it's like the 9 to 5 grind and all of that stuff, they're great for, building up your reserve, your resources, etc. And if you want to stay in it, that's fine. But again, if you're going to quit and you're going to go to a different position or something, you don't need to put in your 2 weeks, man. You just don't. You don't need to put in your 2 weeks. These people would replace you in a heartbeat if they could. If they could get you doing a better job, like somebody like you, they could get a clone of you doing a better job at a lower price, you bet your bottom dollar that they would do it. Because guess what? I've seen literal robots take over jobs for people that were exemplary at their positions. These people were great. And yet, because the company wanted to save money, they went to AI. They sacrificed quality in order to get quantity. And I genuinely believe that anytime you sacrifice quality to get quantity, God is not going to be favoring you. I just don't think that's the possibility. So I'm somebody that always chooses quality. And when I say quality, I don't mean luxuriousness. I don't mean that you need to live luxuriously. What I'm saying is you need to understand what exactly the difference is between living luxuriously and living a quality life. You can still have great food and clean water and all of these things and live a minimalist lifestyle, but you can also be fairly well off in doing so. You don't have to have that new car. You don't have to have that car payment that's a mortgage payment. I've literally heard people at the gym where they're talking about their car payments being like $800 for their BMW a month, and it's a brand new car that loses its value and literally depreciates in value every single second and mile that you drive it. You're paying that much money for a car that's just going downhill as far as asset wise. Like, doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense to me at all. So all I'm saying here in this video, guys, is if you're going to quit, do so and, do well with it, be professional, but you don't need to give that 2 weeks. There's no law, by the way. I ought to have mentioned this earlier. There's no law that says that you have to put in a 2 weeks notice. Because if they can, now there are certain laws in certain states that, I know Utah the state that I'm in the United States is an at-will state. So the employer or the employee can quit or fire you at any time for any reason whatsoever. It's kind of funny though, because then you have like the HR stuff where, uh, like let's say you're suspicious that they fired you for a certain reason, like because of your political system or beliefs or whatever. Uh, but there's no physical evidence for it. It's just kind of funny how that happens, because that's something that I've seen that's happened in the past, is people have been fired for, speaking out uh, for their beliefs and holding their own. And even myself, that stuff kind of has happened to me as well in the past too, where I stood my ground and I stood on principle, and I was punished for it, even though a month before that they were telling me how I was the shining star example of somebody to be in my position, and then they found out about my principles and they didn't like it. And of course, I don't have the exact proof for that to go to court or anything, but that's my sneaking suspicion. And in all honesty, I try to avoid court stuff at all costs, because ugh, I just don't even want to be a part of that crap. I don't want to be a part of that at all. Uh, but anyways, guys, I hope this video was informative and insightful, or just gave you some deeper insight on this topic. And, speaking of entrepreneurship and such, we do have the Regal Change Academy. We have the free Discord as well as the paid community. And in the paid community, we have a bunch of entrepreneurship opportunities and ways for you to not just personally network with godly people, but also to professionally network as well, and to build each other up and help each other out, because it is a community, and that is a place where we are literally building everybody up the best that we can, and ensuring that everybody is getting their mind, body, and soul properly trained and fortified and refined, so that they can grow closer to the Most High God. I also want to thank everybody that's been moving from YouTube over to X and Rumble recently. And with all that being said, peace be with you all. Till next time.